Are you ready to unlock your full potential and maximize your productivity? Look no further than Productivity Smarts, the ultimate audio podcast hosted by renowned productivity expert Gerald J. Leonard. In every episode, Gerald shares captivating stories, invaluable tips, and cutting-edge strategies that will transform the way you approach productivity. Whether you're looking to reduce stress, overcome overwhelm, or simply get more done in less time, Productivity Smarts has got you covered. But that's not all. You'll also gain inspiration from real-life success stories of individuals who have achieved greatness through productivity. Plus, you'll learn the latest tools, techniques, and habits that will help you achieve a new level of happiness and fulfillment in your personal and professional life. So why wait? Join us every week as we delve into the exciting world of productivity and help you unleash your full potential. Get ready to take your productivity to the next level with Productivity Smarts. As a productivity expert and host of the Productivity Smarts podcast, Gerald J. Leonard has been a proud supporter of Kiva since 2011. Kiva is a non-profit organization that helps entrepreneurs in third-world countries access the capital they need to start or grow their businesses. By making a small loan through Kiva, you can help these entrepreneurs achieve their dreams, support their families, and contribute to their local economies. And with a repayment rate of over 96%, your loan can be relent to another entrepreneur once it's repaid, creating a ripple effect of positive change. So if you're looking for a meaningful way to make a difference in the world, consider making a loan through Kiva. With loans as small as $25, anyone can be a microlender and help change lives. Visit kiva.org to learn more and start lending today.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I am speaking today with Annie McCune. She grew up in a large, loud, and loving family in Western New York. She graduated from Dartmouth College, where she met her husband, Lee, who went on to attend medical school there. They have 4 children and 12 grandchildren. They feel privileged to have numerous internationals of all ages from Honduras, Kazakhstan, and Afghanistan call them family. Annie, how are you?
I'm great, Gerald. And how about you today?
I am doing very, very well. Listen, how did you get started in this field of practicing hospitality? I know that's what your book is about and what we're going to talk about today. And having a family from all these different places all over the world. How did that happen?
Well, I grew up in that large, loving family. I grew up next to my grandparents, and my other cousins lived on the other side, and the other cousins lived 5 houses down, and there were 16 first cousins, and all the doors were open, and it was just lots of beautiful chaos, but also that sense of our homes were not our castles. Our homes were family friendly to be used, and so that was my bent, and a feeling of safety comes with that most people are not going to hurt you. Most people just, need something.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
and if you need something, you can go next door and find that with someone else. When my husband and I first married, we needed a bridge loan. And my parents said, well, we'll give you a bridge loan. We said, great. And then they called a couple hours later, said, oh, by the way, did I tell you we just had dinner with some friends? Their son is also moving to the same town. We've rented out one of your rooms to them. And we were like, great. So they helped foster that. My parents helped foster that. But we also started, my husband and I are Christian believers who believe in stewardship, that anything we're giving is not really ours. It comes, it goes. But while we've got it, it's ours to share. And we have really found that by sharing, it multiplies the fun in almost everything for us.
Right.
And it's, yeah. So that's how we got started. And then after a while of just opening your doors, people would call and say, hey, we hear you take in strays. Or interesting people that we think nobody else will open their door to. Will you do it? And, so it wasn't a challenge. It was just always a joy. And
Right.
Our 4 kids just got used to always making room, and it became contagious. And now they are adults opening their homes, and my grandkids are really good at opening their door also. So it's contagious. It's a good thing.
It is contagious because I practice hospitality myself, but it's also something in our day and time where people tend to shy away from it, right? They tend to shy away from it because of the news, because of the cultural climate, because of politics, and so on and so forth. As you said, growing up, which it reminded me of how I grew up. If I went from my mother's house to my grandmother's house, or my parents' house to my grandmother's house, if I did anything wrong, my grandmother knew about it by the time I got to her house, or my mom and dad knew about it by the time I got home, because it was a community of people who knew you, right?
That's right.
And I think that's something that's really missing today, where there's community. And I'm sure they have that, and that is some, in some places of the country, but a large parts of the country now, people are missing that level of openness and hospitality. Now, before we get into your book, which I really love the concept of your book and all the various practices that you talk about in there, I have two questions that are music-related questions.
Okay.
I ask all my guests, and that is, what is your favorite style or genre of music?
Okay. Well, I really love musicals. Those are very fun.
Okay.
Yeah. And just kind of easy piano listening or instrumental. I like background music that just flows and gets into your soul.
Yeah. It changes your state and puts you in more of a meditative or mental state. And that's the essence of music, the muse of music.
Yeah.
So here's the other question is, can you share a piece of music or a style of music that inspires you or resonates very deeply with you?
Well, this isn't very deep, but sometimes when you just need to get happy, I put on Happy with Pharrell. And it's, we start dancing around the kitchen, the grandkids and everything. And I love that some music can just make you dance. Yeah, I'm a diehard Buffalo Bills fan, so the Bills make you want to shout is always good. I'm hardly musical, but very fun for crowd cohesiveness and pumping you up. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, listen, let's jump into your book. Again, I really fell in love with the idea of your book, Practicing Hospitality, the Joy and Grace of Loving Strangers. Love the title and love the subtitle. Now, in your book, Practicing Hospitality, you emphasize the importance of loving strangers. How do you believe cultivating a hospitable mindset impacts a person's productivity and in their daily life?
Well, and that was a surprise for me, Gerald. I was going under the assumption that hospitality is having to make a great meal or having a picture-perfect house or something like that, which is not what we had done. When I started writing the book, it was just to tell stories to my grandkids. And I thought, gosh, maybe I should look up and find out what the word means to see if in fact, we were being hospitable. And I was really surprised that the word comes from a Greek compound word called philoxenia. It means loving strangers as family. So xenia is the part of the word that is about stranger or hospitality to strangers that we get like xenophobia, fear of strangers from.
Wow.
But the philoxenia is like the philo in Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, loving strangers like family. And that's actually, biblically the word that's translated as hospitality that we're supposed to practice and offer to one another and show is philoxenia, loving strangers as family. So I think that puts it in a whole different light. We don't have to dress up. If your mom showed up at the door, you'd let her in. You wouldn't say, oh, wait, I've got to have everything perfect. And I've got to get out the fine china and I've got to get the expensive whatever out. Loving like family is actually, it's a deep type of love, and it's a little more vulnerable, but it's actually much less costly in the long run. And so even in business, I think you can do some very simple things along the line of treating employees with a genuine kindness that really leads to increased productivity. And there's a number of studies out on how hospitality in the business place is a very effective way to both retain your own working staff, but also to retain loyal customers, whether or not it's the hospitality industry.
Right. That's really important. And I love the idea of going to the root word and identifying that, the essence of hospitality means to love strangers, right? Because then it gives you a real good context to go, okay, so it's not about you think of hospitality, you think of hotels, right?
Right. Yeah.
You think of, do I want the Days Inn or the Motel 6, or do I want the JW Marriott, or do I want the Waldorf Astoria, right? Where it's just like elegance and so on. But if it's really about loving strangers, it's about making it where you can bring anyone in and including them into the process. Now, let me ask you this question. Many people view hospitality, now that we know it's loving strangers, as time consuming. And it can be, right? I mean, let's be honest.
Yep.
Loving strangers can be time consuming. How can someone balance practicing hospitality with maintaining a high level of productivity, especially when juggling multiple responsibilities?
Okay, well, I can answer that in a number of ways. One is we all need to eat. And fueling our bodies with healthy food is really good for everyone and makes you more productive. To have that meal where you actually converse with someone, where you are smiling because of facial mimicry and the way we are wired, when the dopamine picks up,
yes,
it picks up our ability to feel better about everything, including our work. So that's part of the answer. So we have to eat with someone. Don't eat at your desk, because it's going to actually make you feel better and be more productive in the long run. As far as costing, there's a lot of things we've put in our head that are just wrong. They're just outright lies. It does not have to be costly. You can brown bag your lunch and meet with someone and have a very productive day, and more productive because you've broken up your work with just facial recognition, with real connection.
With the connection. Yeah. It makes a lot of sense, because when you do break up your day and you balance it out, and honestly, that's why this podcast is called Productivity Smarts, because and I love talking with people like yourself, who it seems like a topic that we really wouldn't talk about in productivity, about hospitality, but it really is important, because productivity is more about prioritizing what you value most. And if we value not only just getting things done, but also getting things done with people that we love, or building, meaningful relationships, or making a difference, or having an impact, well, that's also going to require, as the word says, the root word of hospitality is loving strangers. And it is going to take some time, but you can break up your day. And what I found is that if I limit the things I'm going to do per day, let's say I may have a list of 10, but let's say I'm going to focus on 3 of them, then I need to make sure that those 3 things I'm going to do are going to move the ball forward as much as possible. But I want to break up the day with interactions with others, whether it's that lunch with someone I've never met before, or someone that's in my office, or someone that's in my neighborhood, or something along that line. That can have a really great impact. Now, let me ask you this question. From your experience, does practicing hospitality have any influence on reducing workplace stress or improving team dynamics? If so, how does this ultimately enhance productivity and employee engagement?
Yeah, well, it absolutely decreases stress and works to bond a team. So I know a number of employees who have gone to like a Friday lunch, where they just provide lunch for the whole team. Or I have a friend, they own a pharmacy, and the wife is a great baker. So Tuesday morning is coffee cake morning. And people will never miss work on a Tuesday, because Jerry comes in with her coffee cake, and they know that it's something that just boosts morale and makes them happy and productive people. They like their job. They want to keep it. It's a good thing. So they have done a number of studies where businesses will do some kind of a lunch, whether it's weekly or quarterly. Right. I know my son's been part of a business that once a month, this was a big bank that he was in, and he just is a very charismatic type leader, and they asked him to lead game day. So once a month, it's game day from 4 to 5 on a Wednesday afternoon or something. And he gets the team together and they play board games, or he'll make up games. And they're finding that kind of, again, you get to know people on a deeper level. Right. And so when it talks about loving strangers, we're all strangers to each other in some sense. We've all got parts of our story that we haven't told or heard before. And hearing parts of those stories, I find also can spark creativity in ways that we don't get without hearing those extra stories. So I get excited about that aspect of hospitality. You might just find out some key thing about someone else that helps spur what you need for your next idea or to get through the project. You just never know, but it opens yourself up to new possibilities.
Exactly. For leaders who want to foster a more hospitable and inclusive environment in their organizations, what practical steps can they take that would not only enhance workplace culture, but also boost that collective productivity?
Yeah, well, and there's a number of things there. If you've been a kid, most of us have been kids, in a very authoritative household where you don't ask dad questions, you just do what he says.
Right.
Those are not necessarily pleasant places to be, but workplaces where you're treated with respect and your ideas are heard, even if you're the teenager on the team, tend again to be more popular. Now, you don't let them have everything, but to treat employees with a kindness and a care about their families. You're not just here because I need every ounce of your productivity out of you. I care about you as a person. So if something's going on with your family, as an organization where you're spending 80% of your time, maybe we can take care of that. Maybe we can show that we care about that. Maybe we can do some workarounds or whatever. And to have that kind of a heart, again, are the kind of companies people want to work for.
Right. It makes a lot of sense. And, when you do bring people together and they are connecting away from work, it makes work that much more engaging, and it creates a bonding culture where people feel like they're a part of something bigger than just work, if you will. And it brings more meaning to work because it really is about people, and especially these days of AI and technology, where people can get really caught up in those things. It's really our job now to be a lot more human, because many of those things can be automated and taken away from that standpoint. So it's our job now to connect with each other in a lot more a gracious way to do that. So let me ask you a couple more questions here before we wrap up. Have you observed any correlation between people who are naturally hospitable and their ability to stay organized and achieve their goals? What might this suggest about the link between hospitality and effective time management or priority management?
Well, I hate to disappoint you on this one. People who really love hospitality tend to be a little more extroverted and a little more distracted when it comes to organization. So they're not always the people with the messy desks, but my desk is very often messy because I've prioritized a relationship and hearing a story over that. So I can't guarantee that. But as far as being responsible to get the product done, you're going to find people who are feeling good and loved and seen, want to produce for the company, because being seen and loved and valued is a good thing. So that they're not doing it to make that happen, but if they are feeling good, if they're feeling in relationship to the people they're working with, they are going to want to get their goals accomplished in an excellent type of way.
Yeah, and I can say this from firsthand experience that if someone is in your company and they bring a lot of talent, right? They're very talented, but they are feeling as though they're not being valued or respected or included or engaged with the wisdom that they're bringing to the table, they will find another organization to deliver and bring that to.
That's right.
And you will find yourself in a situation where you're losing a resource or person that actually, when you look at what they deliver and what they produce, you're losing 3 or 4 people. It's going to take you 3 or 4 people to replace what that one person can do. And that could have been avoided just by being hospitable in the work culture and in an environment. So I think that's really, really, so it may not have to do exactly what having a top desk.
Yeah. But the work lost between the work lost and then the training while you're hiring and then training. I mean, you can lose weeks and weeks of productivity that way. So to create a hospitable environment is really an effective way to run a business.
Yes. And not only do you lose weeks of productivity, but you could lose decades of wisdom. Because if that person has been around for 20, 30 years in their space, and they've developed this neural network of wisdom and insight and intelligence and knowing exactly where to look in contracts and exactly where to look in processes and so on, that would take someone starting out maybe 3 or 4 hours to do, where it takes them 10 minutes because they've done it so many times. You begin to lose all of that wisdom and insight and that knowledge base that is very hard to replace with someone who may have the skills but doesn't have the experience or the wisdom for that particular moment. So last question I have for you before I ask you the final question about how people can learn more about you, and that is, what advice would you give to those who feel overwhelmed by the demands of productivity and are hesitant to open up their time or resources to practice hospitality? Because we do know it takes some effort. How can embracing hospitality help alleviate this feeling of being overwhelmed?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you're a leader, it's going to multiply your productivity. So it's really something you should look into. A lot of great meetings are going to roll out their ideas after a meal. They know that you bring the team together, you give them a meal, they're going to be more receptive to listening. I mean, these things are proven facts in the business way. So you're going to get your time back and you're going to get the costs that you're laying out. So what makes it worth it for the individual worker or a middle manager or whatever, or even then being hospitable at home when you're tired? There is safety for your family when you know your neighbors at home. It's a huge factor to make your family part of a neighborhood. It really enhances everybody's enjoyment of a move. And it's worth it. If you've got employees moving in and out, try to connect them, make sure that the families feel connected. I don't know if that's part of it, but just the time in your day, we were made for connection. Yes. The statistics right now from the Surgeon General are one in two Americans are suffering physical or mental effects from isolation and loneliness. Yeah. And they said mortality rates are the same as if you were smoking 15 cigarettes a day when you're lonely and isolated. Yeah. So again, there's a huge cost for not opening ourselves up and getting connected.
Exactly. Well, this is great information. What a great book, Practicing Hospitality. I love the definition that you uncovered, which is the real root word, the Greek word, which means to love strangers. And it's a challenge for all of us to kind of step back and think about, hey, how much am I loving strangers in my life and on a day-to-day basis? And if someone wants to learn more about your book and work with you or learn more about the things that you're doing, where can they go?
Yeah, I have a website called anniebooks.com. I'm new at this, so it's a website in progress, but they can drop me a note there and I will get it. So
Excellent. And again, you can find the book on Amazon or any bookstore.
Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Excellent. Well, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. And I think anyone would grow and learn and develop by having a chance to read through your book and gain some of the wisdom that you provide through your years of practicing hospitality and sharing your wisdom.
Well, thank you. And if you're in the Atlanta area, come on by. Okay. Look me up.
Oh, definitely will.
We've got good music here. Lots of good music.
Excellent. If you're enjoying the content and finding it valuable, we would appreciate it if you could take a moment and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us and helps us reach a wider audience. If you leave us a 5-star review, it would mean the world to us. Not only does it help us improve the podcast, but it also helps us attract more sponsors and grow our community. Thank you again for your support and for listening to the Productivity Smarts podcast.
Thank you for tuning in to Productivity Smarts, where we help you achieve your goals and live your best life. We hope you've gained valuable insights and actionable strategies to boost your productivity and increase your happiness and fulfillment. Remember to apply what you've learned and keep striving towards your goals. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to our podcast for more inspiring episodes and expert advice from our host, Gerald J. Leonard. Until next time, keep pushing forward and unleashing your productivity smarts.